Welcome to the Nevada Patriot Podcast with Matt Sadler.
Welcome back, listeners, to the Nevada Patriot Podcast with Matt Sadler. Very thankful to have you listening today. I need to thank you, listeners, right now on KPFF 97.7 FM, where the First Amendment lives, and those listening to our local radio station on godfather.media. Bear with us. The station antenna and tower is being moved and reinstalled right now and clearing some hurdles before 97.7 FM is transmitting again at full power. And I say again, but the goal is to have it even better than what you're used to. And as a reminder, stream this show and all of our shows for that matter at thenevadapatriot.com, YouTube, Rumble, or a variety of other platforms you may find us on. Sometimes we are on SoundCloud and some others, but every episode we're going to have on YouTube and Rumble. You can just look up the keywords of the Nevada Patriot. Look at our site, thenevadapatriot.com. They're actually embedded right on that landing page there, so you can find us pretty easy, no matter how you shake it. So changes are on the horizon, or, well, at least necessary changes are possible on the horizon. So if you're one of those people blissfully meandering through our world right now, I gotta say I'm a little jealous, because there's a lot going on to fix. I hate to say worry because I'm not really supposed to worry. That's not the advice. You're not supposed to worry. You're supposed to trust in the higher power that things are going to be right, and we do our best. But I mean, we really need to heed that advice. We need to do our best because, like I said, a lot of things need to be corrected. Soon we're going to have some chances, and we're going to talk about a couple of those here on what will amount to being a pretty abbreviated show. So, you always hear wise sayings like be part of a solution, or I like this one, leave the world a little bit better than you found it. Well, in order to do that, I have to level with you. We have a lot of work to do. So there's a couple of things going on right now in Southern Nevada. I know we broadcast this show, and I myself am where the show is broadcasted from, Pahrump, Nevada, but that doesn't mean that we're not closely linked to the happenings in our neighboring county, in my home county, where I was born and raised, Clark County, specifically the city of Las Vegas. And for right or wrong, what goes on in Las Vegas politics, Las Vegas policies, Las Vegas leadership has a profound effect in everything that's going to be happening in the great state of Nevada. By the time you're hearing this, as it's being broadcast on 97.7, or probably when you're streaming it, unless you catch a show early today on Tuesday, the CCRP debate, that's the Clark County Republican Party, the Clark County Republican Central Committee specifically, it's a debate on July 11th. I was planning on attending the debate. It's like a debate luncheon at the Ahern Hotel. However, it looks like I snoozed and I loosed. I missed my chance to go do that. So was not able to acquire tickets in time before the event sold out. So that tells me, the Ahern is not a tiny venue by any means. So there's a lot of interest in the CCRP chairman debate. I wasn't specific when I mentioned it. I think I just said CCRP debate now that I think about it. But this is to elect the board, the elections. Specifically, this debate is the debate between the candidates looking to become the chairman. So there's multiple candidates. The existing candidate, there's some regional and national news hitting. So, I have my own opinions on when the team is not winning. I look at the Republican Party and the Republican efforts as a team effort. Just like in the sports world, just like in the corporate world, if you have a board of directors, you have a CEO that's not getting it done, the company's tanking, money's being lost, you have a sports team that's not performing, they're having back-to-back losing seasons, regardless of how likable, regardless of how charismatic, or how they present ideas, how well they speak, if they are not performing as in having the team running on all cylinders, contending, improving, having victories, And I'm not just talking about one victory like we had with the governor, when we elected Joe Lombardo for governor. I think we had a couple victories technically where we gained some ground, the state controller and also the lieutenant governor. Now, the lieutenant governor's job duties is very focused and not a real broad spectrum effect on the entire state. There's some effect with how the sessions are governed in Carson City, as sort of an overseer, or kind of, I guess they call him the president of the Senate in Carson City, or the head of a transportation committee for the state of Nevada, tourism duties and different things like that, which are super important. So those are the three elections that I think we gained some ground in, if you can call it that. The governorship, lieutenant governorship, and also the state controller. So we need more. We needed to have, you heard it all around, red wave. It's going to be, even Democrats were preparing for potential bloodbaths in some of these elections. We failed to produce winning campaigns in the general election and in lots of key races, and actually lost some ground in the state legislature. Lost a little bit of ground in the Senate. We're one member away from the Democrats having a super majority in the state Senate, and I don't really think it's a good idea, whichever way the pendulum swings. I don't like super majorities that can basically rule by power of overriding a veto even by the governor, that if they have those numbers, which they do have them in the lower house, in the assembly, and now they're just one shy away from the state Senate. So we are on a precipice now of a point where, a state, when you look at our state, we're not a super majority state where, 2 out of every 3 people are liberal-minded, progressive-minded. I hate to even call people liberal. Liberal never used to really be a bad word. A classical liberal would have no problem with the First Amendment, freedom of speech, expression, such and such. But now they have a huge problem with it. There's a massive campaign to compel our speech, to silence opposition. I mean, they're doing it on the national level. They're trying to silence a presidential candidate, a former president for that matter, and the media, other powers that be corporate, entertainment, sports world, obviously different states' legislatures, different political players are working in tandem sometimes, even with technology companies, social media, to effectively eviscerate the First Amendment of even a president of the United States. And we've seen that. And it's not what we're supposed to see in a country like this. The country that I grew up in, the country that I love, it's not American, it's un-American. And a classical liberal would have no problem with dissenting opinions. I think of, people like George Carlin in some ways when I think of the word liberal. He would be probably one of the first people to really question why, Democrats in particular have kind of adopted some of these, what I call really extreme policies and extreme positions on speech, and for that matter, a lot of the Constitution, whether it's the First Amendment or even the Second Amendment, right? It's kind of going in a different direction. So we need to curb that. We need at the local level, the Clark County level, because how Clark County goes, oftentimes, since 3 of the biggest towns in Clark County, in Nevada, are all in Clark County. So you're talking North Las Vegas, Henderson. They're all bigger, more populated than Reno. So people always say it's Clark and it's Washoe County, but ultimately it's Clark County, the lion's share of all the population in the state. So the Republican Party in Clark County is monumental, and currently Jesse Law holds that position. And if for no other reason than things are feeling stagnant, and I hear it from people. I'm not a member of that. I'm a member of the Nye County Central Committee, the Nye County Republican Central Committee. So I just go by people that I know in Las Vegas. And as a kid who grew up in the 80s and 90s in the school system in Las Vegas, you can imagine I don't really have a lot of staunch conservative or Republican friends that are my age now, but I do have some. and they tell me some of the goings on, and they tell me what it's like, and they tell me, kind of the pulse of some of the membership. Now, I understand that there are hierarchies, there are strata, there for right or wrong. There's an in crowd in any organization, right? I mean, I feel that out here. Not so much anymore, since I've been kind of active politically and talking on shows like this or other platforms. So I feel like I've developed a little bit of a voice. I won't say that I'm in a special treehouse club by any means, but I think I have a seat at the table, and that's really all I think most people want. And I think that's not an unreasonable request that most of the members, especially when you're talking in a huge county where they get maybe, what do they have, 600 and some odd members of the CCRP in Clark County. That's almost enough people to where a lot of them that want to be more involved, more informed, should have that ability and should have that right. And there should be complete transparency, and they should have a voice. And they have a right to be enthusiastic about their party and the direction that it's going. And I don't get the vibe that they are. So what happens in the sports world? What happens, next season if the Golden Knights, our hockey team, suddenly, instead of winning 50 plus games like they did this last season, if the inverse happens and they lose 50 plus games, they miss the playoffs, and what happens? They do it again the next year. And more importantly, what happens when they do it in a season where on paper it looks like they should have a real chance to compete, to not only make the playoffs, but to make the conference finals or the finals or win the whole championship again? That would be a disappointment, right? There has to be an expectation that we should do better, that election results should be better. And now we can have an argument whether or not elections are fair and balanced and transparent, which, in my opinion, they're not. But still, with the idea that a wave was imminent, there's discontent through any rational thinking Democrat or independent, and obviously with Republicans, to where the last election cycle we should have done a lot better than we did, and we did not. So just like what happens in the sports world, it would be, sorry, Coach Cassidy, you can't coach the hockey team anymore. You're a good guy, players like you, you have a good personality, you're kind, you work hard, or whatever the accolade will be. But at the end of the day, if the job didn't get done, there has to be a replacement. So by nature, I'm not going to sit here and advocate one person or another, but I can say that I'm really impressed with John Brookhagen, Johnny Brew, known to many in the podcasting world and in the political world, at least the world of Southern Nevada politics. Pretty well known guy, has thrown his hat in the ring along with a couple other candidates, and I got to say, super impressive. So if you haven't checked him out, look for him on social media, on Facebook, for instance. I believe his handle, his page is Johnny Brew for the win. That's Johnny and then BRU for the win. Check him out. Go check out some of the Johnny Brew Show podcasts. I believe he still has them on YouTube or other platforms, or probably even on his social media or websites that he promotes there. He's a guy that has some very good ideas. I think he's a very diplomatic person. But what I kind of like about him are his fresh ideas, the way to look at something in a new way, and his enthusiasm it's kind of contagious, right? So if you get a guy in a position that leads from the front, that's not there to sit there and rule over the party. And I'm not saying the current person does either, but I'm just saying I don't believe Johnny Brew would be looking to micromanage and control the party to every single whim of his desire. I don't see that happening for the party. So, and if you're looking for change, this is someone that people should be looking into. So if you have friends, and I know many listeners are in Pahrump or Nye County, if you have friends in the Las Vegas area and they're voting eligible members for the election for the party chair, it's coming up on the 18th of July, which is technically 1 week from today, on Tuesday. Get them to the Ahern, that's where they're holding their meeting, and get them signed into the meeting early and get them to vote. If they want change, they got to kind of be that change. As corny as that sounds, be that change. Don't be the one sitting on the sofa and just say, I'll tune in tomorrow. I'm not going to be able to go. I'm only one vote or whatever. My friend is only a second vote, but we'll find out who does. I doubt it'll even be close. We'll figure out who wins next time. But what if it is? What if it is an election decided by a couple of votes? It happens. When you have 600 members or whatever it is of an organization and you have 4 candidates running, could come down pretty close. So I'll say it again in a cheesy way, be the change. So I'm going to piggyback off of, the Clark County Republican Party, politics, and just kind of apply some of these same principles to, politics at large, or at least Nevada politics, whether it's statewide, assembly districts, senate districts, counties, what have you. There's this notion out there, and you look to the other side. What does the other side do? Yes, there is truth to the fact that many of the Democrat primary races are unchallenged. They're basically selections, and people in our party, in our Republican Party, tend to backpat them and say, look, the Democrats, they're all on the same page. They identify that one candidate and put them up there, and they get behind them and they really push and they really push. Well, is that really a good thing? I mean, are we really envious of another party who is known to many of us in our party? We can see it. It's called the eye test, right? Like when something doesn't look right, it just doesn't look right. And it causes something almost like at the molecular level of your body that something is not right. So we know there's tactics being deployed. We know there's news stories that get exploited. We know that there's the Democrat Party is highly influential with the media, and in such a way that they can probably convince the media to just not run with certain stories that don't make them look good or make their candidates or their leaders look good or in a positive light. We know that. We know that from the eye test. We know that from the fact that you can watch, whether it's Fox News, Newsmax, these other outlets, and then you watch CNN, MSNBC, even the old school network TV, which is like a dying breed of dinosaur that's no longer with us. They'll be irrelevant in a few decades anyway. But you tune in these stations on their news broadcasts, and then you tune into something that's, I hate to say conservative like Fox News because they're far from conservative, but you tune into that news program over there, and you think that we live in 2 different dimensions, 2 different worlds, 2 different universes. Because the news stories don't even anywhere near line up, and who's doing more of the lying, who's the lesser of the 2 evils? I would have to say that Fox News, Newsmax, OANN, probably the lesser of those evils. I mean, unequivocally. Do you miss getting your news from Don Lemon, for crying out loud? So, back to my point. Primary challenges are a good thing. If you have a primary candidate, say on the Republican side, that's not somebody worth voting for in your estimation, it's okay. You want to have another choice. You want to look at some other candidates. Now if that candidate is a mediocre, soft, or ineffective Republican who happens to be in a seat, whatever level of government, senator, assembly person, county commission, whatever school board, why should we just allow them to perpetually or even dynastically, if it passes down from generation to just occupy that seat just because they have an R next to their name? And if somebody challenges them in a primary race, we get all upset and say, we're wasting our money in a primary when we have to save it for the general. And well, yeah, it's a fact. When the Republican, unless they're completely lying and completely a fraud, of course, someone like me, I'll vote for that Republican in the general election. But I think it's fine if they're soft, if they're compromised, if they're not 100% authentic. Why not allow other other candidates come in. No one's owed anything. Just because you have a spot, you're not doing a great job, but you have an R next to your name, everybody's supposed to just lay down and allow you to just go in year after year unopposed in a primary when there could be better candidates out there? No, I think the primary process can refine, can even make an incumbent a better candidate. And at the end of the day too, if it's a close race, there's usually a reason why. So people can say, well, you're beating up on each other. It's a close race and you're making each other spend and you're going to spend all your money. Well, what's the reason it would be such a close race? Probably because maybe the person that's in there doesn't have a birthright to just have a free pass through every primary process. Because if they're that popular, if they're that good, if their record is that spectacular, they should win re-election easy and not care who challenges them, right? Beat them 80% to 20% or whatever the margins would be for the incumbent. But if people are worried about it being close, well, there's probably a reason why it's going to be close, and that's all the more reason that they should be primaried. There's several Republican candidates in the Assembly and the state Senate that should be primaried, and I'm not even talking about in our Assembly District 36, for instance. I'm not talking about ours. I'm talking about in other races through the state. You can, check out some of their voting records online. Some of the information's out there. A lot of them were not consistently good voting Republicans that stood on Republican values. I think many votes were compromised, were the wrong votes. So would I want to see them primaried? 100%. Yes, I would. So, and besides, this is a free country. Look at the requirements to run. If I wanted to run again, or if I had a friend who wanted to run, I don't think me or my friend, if we're true diehard Republicans, and this is who we authentically are, need to go kiss anybody's ring, ask anyone's permission. Last I checked, I'm over 18 years old. I can pay a filing fee, enter a race if I please. And should we support our local parties, our local central committees? Absolutely, we should. But there comes a point where leadership that's inadequate, frameworks that are not structurally durable or conducive to maintaining enthusiasm with the base or with your average committee member, that's going to cause that person to become more and more disengaged. Because I hate to tell the listeners out there, but within these parties, within these committees, the leadership, and in tandem probably with the state party and the powers that be at the state level, they have people that they prefer. And I know this from firsthand experience. And it hasn't really been me yet being the one that's preferred. Although if I was the preferred candidate, that would be wrong too. But they're really not supposed to be digging their heels in the sand and backing certain candidates in primary elections. And I mean, it's a free country. They can endorse who they want to endorse personally. They can stump with that person. They can hold hands with them while they're skipping in the park together for commercial spots or whatever they want to do. That's their prerogative. But you have to ask yourself, is it the right thing to do for state committees or county committees to back certain Republicans over other ones? No, it's not. Not until it gets to the general and we have a nominee and we have a winner in a primary, and then yes, all hands are on deck and we support the Republican that moves on into the general election. I think that's fair. So just to be transparent with you guys, I definitely have a favorite in the presidential race. Now, if my favorite candidate doesn't win the primary in the presidential race, will I back one of that candidate's opponents who does advance? Absolutely. What would the option be? What would the other choice be? It would be, we talk about on this show and all through life, right? The lesser of two evils. Do you, if you're a little kid and you're going to get spanked or corporal punishment from your parents, or in my case, when I was in elementary school, they still had corporal punishment. And If the vice principal were to ask me, Matt, do you want, 1 paddle to the butt or do you want 5? I can't just tell the principal, I don't like any paddles to the butt. So my answer is I'm not going to say either because I don't want to be paddled at all. And then he says, okay, here's 5 for you, buddy. Bam, 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 bam. And that would be on me because I did not choose the lesser of two evils. So the lesser of two evils is something that we have to always deal with. But what I'm telling you is in the primary process, if you have a weak candidate or someone that you don't like, it's great to have another choice. Because then we won't be stuck always voting for the lesser of two evils in the general election. Can you imagine if that's how it always was? Look how it was before Donald Trump, for instance. The best that we could come up with in the presidential nominating process are people like John McCain or Mitt Romney. Are you kidding me? Just by contrast alone, goodness, a guy like Donald Trump has to look like some kind of crazy cyborg hybrid of George Washington, Ronald Reagan, and Abraham Lincoln, in a RoboCop exoskeleton or something. That's how good he looks compared to those candidates. And those candidates had to go through primary processes. So imagine if we just selected our candidate, that we would have worse ones than those two probably. So let's get this notion out of our mind that it's somehow not Republican friendly to challenge other Republicans in a primary. Like, if I ever ran again, would I be offended if another person just came out of the blue, kind of like I did last time, and threw their hat in the ring, and I'm like, well, who's this person? I would just look at it like, okay, cool. He's joining the party too, and he's throwing his hat in the ring, or she's throwing her hat in the ring. Now I got 2 butts to kick. That's the attitude that a leader or someone that's in this thing to win it should have. Oh, let 5 people join. Let 6 people join. Who really cares? There's no limitation to it. So if I was a candidate that was that confident and running a good campaign, I wouldn't care if there's 1 opponent, 2 opponents, 3 opponents. You'd have to just reorganize and fight a war that against 3 or 4 people instead of just 1. No biggie. That's America, and that's competition, and that's healthy. Competition is what breeds excellence. When you just select somebody or you have somebody running unopposed, imagine what grocery stores would look like if you walked down the cereal aisle and all you had was, I'm thinking of a bad cereal. Not a fan of Honey Smacks, if you remember that cereal. If every cereal was Honey Smacks down the whole aisle, I would go crazy. If every drink that I could buy was Sunny Delight, not a fan, I would go crazy. It's choices that make things better and brings out excellence in others and brings out competition. So there's my 2 cents on that. And also along some of these same lines, when we talk about it before that we got work to do, let's try to be part of a solution. Well, that's what the group Grassroots Conservatives of Nevada, also known as GCON, is doing. That's the goal that the GCON has, to be a part of the solution. I'm not saying change the entire world by any means, but at least be kind of leaving the political process better than if the organization didn't exist. So one of the things that we're getting into, because the political season is fast approaching, and in Nye County and in Pahrump, our political cycle starts a little bit earlier than some. So we're going to be really hands-on with candidate vetting. We're developing a very extensive candidate questionnaire that prospective, either local, countywide, statewide, even federal elections candidates can take part in. So if you are a candidate and you're looking to get on our list of candidates that will be questioned or interviewed or kind of vetted, please let us know. There's a site set up, grassrootsconservativesofnevada.com. grassrootsconservativesofnevada.com. We do have a meeting coming up on the 24th of July. That's a Monday, 6 p.m. at 41 North Highway 160, the usual spot. It's the Bell Bonds office on 41 North Highway 160, Unit 5. It's the corner of Basin and 160 near Home Depot here in beautiful Pahrump, Nevada. And I hope I hope some of you can make it. We saw some new faces this last time around, which was good. So I know it's summertime. People are on vacation and doing other stuff. It's 190 degrees outside. But if you want to get a little bit of refuge and some pretty good functioning air conditioning, come on down. We'd love to have you. We'll be talking more about some of our efforts to do that. In addition to other conservative causes, we're battling bad ballot initiatives as well. You know, those questions that come up on the election ballots every general election, you know, proposition, you know, 1 or 2, 3, 4, 5, you know, ballot question 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, whatever they may be. 9 times out of 10, or maybe even 999 times out of 1,000, they're going to be bad. So always think, if I'm going to err on the side of caution, I don't know how to answer it, let me answer it for you. Mark no on those questions. If you're not 100% sure that's something that you want, do not put yes. Don't flip a coin. Don't rock, paper, scissors with your buddy standing next to you in line. Just vote no, and you probably won't regret it. So this also goes to folks who might be interested in being a candidate. Maybe you're not already, you know, fixed on throwing your hat in the ring. Maybe you're not actively campaigning. You have no website. You haven't really started it, but you always thought that you might want to do it, or you know someone who will probably be a good candidate for some type of political race. You know, think about, you know, coming to one of these meetings. Ever thought at least about trying to help a cause, a political cause, or a campaign for someone that you want to kind of get on the ground floor with and help, or maybe 2 people? You know, come down and we're going to start having some good qualified guest speakers. We're going to be interviewing candidates. Candidates will be speaking, and that can range from local candidates all the way to, you know, U.S. Senate candidates, Congress candidates. We're going to hopefully be having a lot of them speaking in our meeting. So it should be an exciting time. If you haven't been involved in politics, let me break it to you. You know, unconsciously, you have been political. Everything, you've heard the term, everything's political. You know, the basis of politics is really just kind of the study of on how humans relate to each other in terms of, you know, oftentimes it's power, it's different things like that. We have that dynamic of politics everywhere. It starts in the family, right? From the moment that you're born, if you're the youngest kid or a middle child, you got brothers, sisters, you got mom, dad, uncle lives with you or whatever. There's political relationships happening. You know, there's politics at school with your teachers. There's politics at your workplace. You got politics in your neighborhood, especially if you got an HOA. It's all around you. So just give up and say, you know, I'm going to stop saying that I'm just not political, because you have no choice. You have a pulse, you're breathing, you're relating to other human beings. To some extent or another, you are political. So put the stamp on it, wear it like a proud badge, and just say, yes, I'm gonna get even more political, and I will go to Grassroots Conservatives of Nevada, or I will go to some central committee meetings, or, you know, I will be more informed. I will research topics, you know, get involved, because I'm telling you, sometimes if we don't get involved and we don't fight for the government that we need and fight for the government that we want, you know what we get? We get the government that is given to us, and we deserve more than that. I deserve more than that. You listeners deserve more than that. So we just wanted to, you know, touch on some of those bases here. Again, all of our shows are on the NevadaPatriot.com. I'm not going to keep you too much longer. Hopefully get some oldies music cranking here in a minute when I sign off. But again, if you ever have any questions for me, you want to call me, you want to text me, 775-382-2516, 775-382-2516. Or, you know, if you ever Google Matt Sadler, you will have other cell phone numbers pop up that will find their way to me if you call them as well. You know, every solicitor, every person looking to buy houses and flip them has called me, I think, this week. So you're definitely not going to bother me. Call me, text me, email me if you want. The site that you can find me easiest on is the NevadaPatriot.com. or contact me through grassrootsconservativesofnevada.com. Want to thank you again for listening to KPFF 97.7 FM. If that's how you're listening to us, again, please pardon the progress, but we are still, working on getting some issues fixed here at the station. Again, Monday through Friday, 6 p.m. Every night during the week. The Your 2 Cents hour is on, so you're going to hear a different show from a different point of view. Sometimes similar points of view, but different personalities for sure at this hour. So again, I appreciate you listening. Make sure you always tune in on Rumble, because we don't know how long YouTube is going to allow us to be there. So safe bet. Find us on rumble.com or the nevadapatriot.com. You can check out all 39 of our episodes. Okay. With that being said, again, Patriots, I thank you for listening, and God bless you.
You've just spent some of the best minutes of your life hanging out with Matt Sadler at the Nevada Patriot Podcast. Thank you for listening. Tell a friend and join us next time. After you catch your breath, check out the NevadaPatriot.com for more content, advertising opportunities, and to give listener feedback. That website again is the NevadaPatriot.com. Until next time, Patriots, stay American.